Ma'am, you can start class.
Okay, actually I am waiting. Only 10 learners are here. Should I start now? I think मैं start करती हूँ. Good morning to all. Now the lecture is on research method in rural development. So in this session we are going to study what is research, what is the purpose of research, what is the nature of research, and what is the scope of research in rural development. So the first question is why we need research in rural development. Because it maximizes the impact of poverty alleviation initiates for rural communities. So research in rural areas can check on population growth, removal of illiteracy, even ignorance of health is also indicator for doing research in rural development. Also to maintain ethnic harmony, removal of racial and gender discrimination. That's why we need a research in rural development. So I'm going to share my PPT. Hope so my PPT is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
So, the topic is research method in rural development. Now, before going to start my lecture, I'm going to define what is research. As a layman, the search for knowledge is closely linked to the object of study, that is to the reconstruction of the fact that will provide an explanation to an observed event at first sight, and it can be considered as a problem. So it is very human to seek answers and satisfy our curiosity. So let's talk about the research. So research is a careful consideration of studying regarding a particular concern, a problem using regarding scientific method. One American sociologist, Earl Robert Babbie, said, research is a very systematic inquiry to describe, to explain, to predict, and to control observed phenomena. Means it involves inductive and deductive method. An inductive method is to analyze and observe events with this is inductive method, and deductive method is verify the observed event. So inductive approaches are associated with qualitative research. Qualitative research means you can count, you cannot count, you can only describe. And deductive method are commonly used and associated with quantitative analysis. So research is conducted with purpose to, number one, identify potential and new customers. It is a, you can say it, if, or identify potential and for understand the existing society, some set of goals you can see. So these are the things why we conduct a research. And in rural development, what is purpose, nature, and scope? Research in rural development respects national and international perspective, research process, that is from formulation of research problem, and other one is preparation of research proposal. These things we are going to cover. Now, what I have told you, what is research? I have told you research is also a create path for generating new questions, and so many data help create more research opportunities. So it is analytical. This is my research. And what is scientific research? Scientific research is, you can say, a process by which scientists study various phenomena using so systematic method of collecting. Whatever you collect by systematic method, it is scientific. Means it is a process scientists use to evaluate various scientific theories and hypotheses. And researcher propose an explanation of phenomena and then conduct a variety of studies in attempt to address the proposed question. So this type of scientific research is classified into different categories based on how data is collected, like any type of either observational or experimental, and how data will be applied either in clinical or laboratory research. And what is the purpose of research? Maybe exploratory, maybe descriptive, maybe explanatory. So researcher use the scientific method as a way to systematically test hypothesis, and this process involve asking a research questions, forming a hypothesis to answer that question. So this is a scientific research. Now come to the next slide. Research in rural development. It is an application of research. You can say it is a we can use for this. Community worker is interested in obtaining information about the actual or potential effectiveness of the individuals, couples, or family in the rural community. These two points are for method is used in rural development. Second one is a group wishes to assess the extent to which the technique to role play is more or less effective than group discussion in increasing knowledge of member of self-help group. Next slide is, this is for why we need research. A community organizer want to know the view of community before she or he take decision to change the program objectives, or the director of community welfare center want to know whether an income generation scheme is effective or self-help group is enhancing for women empowerment. And also for administrator is concerned about the effective of implementation of new programs, where this program is implemented, where these things are going to shifting upward or shifting downward, what is going on, that are we going to study by the research. So conceptual foundation of research, or before going to this, want to tell you what is fact and theory. It is included in conceptual foundation of scientific research. Fact and theories are two different things. In the scientific method, there is a clear distinction between fact and which can observe or measured, or you can say measured, and theories which are scientist explanations and interpretation of fact is called, well, two things are facts and theories are interrelated, but you can define by two different. It is a research, it is a two pole of research. So this is a fact. Now hypothesis and theories. Hypothesis is, you can say, it is a tentative thought. It is a idea that is suggested as a possible explanation for something, but has not been yet to be found to be true or correct. Because before we going to any research, everybody have come first thought, it should be right or not. And theory play a vital role in research, very important role, because theory provides explanation, understanding, meaningfulness to research, and also help to predict fact and identify unexplored area or research area. So any research without theory is less emphatic to establish the relationship among attributes, among variables or data. So it at the outset should emphatically establish or explain how and why something is as it in any kind of research. So it helps to explain and extend knowledge about a phenomena. So theory and research together lay the foundation of practices and also help to link uh, abstract and concrete, which ultimately result in relevant and research. So we can say theoretical or theories act as an conceptual ways for understanding and analyzing the research of nature, and it is important to explaining phenomena. Theory is not a data, it is not a fact, it is not a typology, it is not any taxonomy, it is not any empirical finding, but theory operate at the conceptual level, and these are based on logic facts finding operate at the empirical basis. So what is theory? Theory as a base for research? Yes. It is in context of research, lack of no sensitivity. And theory gives sensitivity and charm to research despite being given less important things. So this is hypothesis and theory. We'll discuss more about the hypothesis will later. So what is the purpose of theory? Because I have told you theory to explain, to predict, to understand, to give factual conclusion, to give what is exactly our research said. So theory must be going. Now come to how to develop a theory, how to make a theory. As I have told you, theory explain why something happened, how several things are related, and it is how and why of an observable what and to develop a theory. So this slide show how to conceive a theory. Wonder why, look for pattern between seemingly unrelated things, explore the root cause behind everyday event. So why this thing is going on, why this is happening. So write down why, how, why, and the link between cause and effect. If you don't have any theory or hypothesis in your mind, you can begin by making some connections. Like if you walk through the world with a curious eye, you may suddenly stuck by an idea. Oh, this could be a happen. So develop a theory to explain a law. The next slide, I have given an example, Newton's law of gravity. It is you can say Newton's law of gravity. Was the first mathematical describe how two different bodies in universe interact with each other, and Newton's law does not explain why there is a gravity or how gravity work. So it was not until 3 centuries after Newton when the Albert Einstein developed this theory of relativity. This is also example how to explain our law by the theory to understand how and why the gravity works and learn what was already been tested, proven and refuted. and find out everything that you cannot about your subject. So using existing knowledge to better understand your subject. So this slide shows, and now come to the hypothesis. Already said hypothesis is a tentative thought, and I have given some lines. If a skin cancer is related to ultraviolet light, then people with high exposure to ultraviolet will have a higher frequency of skin cancer. So hypothesis is an kind of educated guess or proposition that aim to explain a set of fact, natural phenomena, and purpose of possible reality that follow logically from your observation. So if you are going to use the scientific method to develop your theory, and then your hypothesis must be measurable. You cannot prove theory without number to back it up. So try to come by several hypotheses that might explain your observation, and compare also hypotheses where they overlap or where they fit. This is a how hypothesis turned into theory. If you no idea about anything, you cannot explore, you cannot make your theory. And I have given an example for hypothesis. If skin cancer is related to ultraviolet, then people with a high exposure to ultraviolet, it will have a higher frequency of skin related. Or a leaf color change is related to temperature, then exposing plant to low temperature will result in leaf color. This is also. So every theory start from the hypothesis, or every theory start as a hypothesis. So be careful not to confuse the two. Theory is well-tested explanation for why a pattern exists, but hypothesis only a prediction reason for this pattern. So theory is always backed by evidence, but hypothesis is only suggested possible outcome. As I told you, it is a tentative thought. So now come to the next slide. Find support. What find support means? How you develop your theory depending on your, this slide explain, depending on your field of study, it may be hard to run complex experiment without access to certain equipment and resources. So scientific gear can quickly expensive, tricky to procure. So if you are professor or researcher who might be able to help, and if you are not in a school, consider reaching out to professor or graduate student. For example, contact the physics department if you want to explore a theory of physics. If you find far away university that is going a lot of exciting research in your field, consider email them to ask their research, their result, their advice for your project. So keep precise record also. This is another slide. Like again, experiment must be reproducible. Means other people must be also so set up as in test in the same way that you can get the same result. Like if you are academia, there are archive which store in raw data gathered in process of scientific research. And if you scientist need to find out about your experiment, they can consult their archives or ask for your data. Make sure that it can provide all your details. So after this, evaluate your result. Evaluate your means compare your prediction against each other or against outcome of your experiment. Look your pattern, ask your whether the result suggests anything new, and think whether there is any what you have forgotten, or data is not confirmed, not data confirmed for hypothesis. Look out for hidden variables that may have influenced the result. So after this, establish your certainty. Establish your certainty means if the result do not support your hypothesis, reject prediction as incorrect. And if you are able to prove the hypothesis, then theory is one step closer to be confirmed. So always document your result with much detail as possible. So if test procedure and its result cannot be reproduced, it will be much less useful. So make sure that the result do not change each time you do the experiment, number one, and repeat the test until you are sure. And if your new theory explains something that previous theories, it may be an important scientific advance. So so after this, accepting and expanding the theories. This is my another slide. I means to say, determine whether your theory is valid, and you also make sure that your experimental results are repeatable. And if you accept the theory, you should not be able to disapprove it with tools and information at your disposal, or do not, however, try to spin your theory into absolute fact. So after conclusion, then you can share your result. You will likely amass lot of information in your quest to prove your theory. Then you can build your theory, and after built of theory, understand the peer review process in the scientific community. Theories are not generally considered valid until they have been peer reviewed. So if you submit your findings to any academic journals, that is to say, test, consider, replicate, and the theory and the process you have to put forward. Now we come to the next slide, that is scientific approach. What is scientific approach? Scientific approach by one social scientist, he said, have three basic steps. One is systematic observation, then classification, then interpretation of data. Systematic observation is a group or individual focus on the visible behavior in the relation to visible values of the environment, and the researcher may find it useful to record to both way. Now come to the classification. Classification means the method of arranging data into homogeneous classes according to common features present in data is known as classification. I mean, planned data analysis system make the fundamental data easy to find and recover. And this can be particular interest or legal discovery, risk management. So classification in any research is very important, because some primary objective of data collection is first to consolidate the volume of data in such that similarities and differences can be quickly understood, to aid comparison, to point out the important characteristic of data at a flash, and to give importance to prominent data collected by separating optional element. So many methods of classification of data that we will cover by our next lecture. Now come to the interpretation of data. Any data, whatever you collect from field or secondary data, it is a refer to process of using diverse analytical method to review data and arrive at relevant conclusion. The interpretation of data of helps researcher to categorize, to manipulate, to summarize the information in order to answer critical question. So the importance of data interpretation is very evident, and that is why it need to be done properly. So data is very likely to arrive from multiple sources and has tendency to enter the analysis process. So data can be primary or data can be secondary. Primary data, primary data have two mode of source of data. One is questionnaire, that is you write down some questions before going to field, and if you are not able to go to the field, you give to another person and he will or she will submitted or filled all the data. This is questionnaire. And interview schedule is researcher itself go to the survey field and it is a kind of interview. So data is have multiple sources and has tendency to enter the analyze process with haphazard ordering. So data analysis tend to extremely subjective, and that is to say the nature and goal of interpretation will vary from business to business. So before any serious data interpretation inquiry can begin, and it should be understand that visual presentation of data findings are very relevant, and unless a sound decision is made regarding a scale of measurement, and before any serious data analysis can begin, the scale of measurement must be decided for data, as this will have a long-term impact on data interpretation. So some scales are include nominal scale, ordinal scale, interval, and ratio. Nominal scale is non-numeric category and can be ranked or compared quantitatively. And variables are exclusive and exhaustive. Ordinal scale is exclusive category that are exclusive and exhaustive, but with logical order. Means quality rating and agreement rating are example of ordinal scale, like good, very good, fair. These are the ordinal scale. Agree, disagree, strongly agree. These are the ordinal scale. Now come to the interval. What is interval in data interpretation? Interval is a measurement scale where data is grouped into category with orderly and equal distance between the category, and there is an arbitrary 0 point. Now another one is ratio. Ratio have failure of 3. For more in-depth review of scale measurement and this specific method and possible some problems are coming in interpretation problem, and how to interpret data. This should be know. When interpreting the data, the analyst must try to discern the difference between correlation, cause, coincidence, and as well as many other biases, but also has to consider all factors what involved that may have led to result. So there are various interpretation methods can be used. The interpretation of data is designed to help make sense of numerical data that has been collected, that has been analyzed and presented also. So having some baseline method for interpreting data, it will provide your analyst team with a structure and consistent foundation. Indeed, if several departments have different approaches to interpreting the same data while sharing the same goal, some mismatched objectives, and it can result. So, this separate method will lead duplicated efforts in so many problems are coming for interpreting data. But we have interpretation of data is two type. One is qualitative, another is qualitative. Qualitative is sum up in one word, categorical. And with this type of analysis, data is not described through numerical values or numerical pattern. That is, you can say it is on based on text. So typically narrative data is gathered by employing a wide variety of person to person techniques. These techniques, some techniques for collecting qualitative data, observation, everyone know, like detailing behavior pattern occur in the observation group, and this pattern could be amount of time spent in activity, because observation process is a very lengthy process, and researcher can't find what is have to take in, what is not have to take in. And another one is a technique is focus group. It is a group and ask some relevant question to generate your collaborative discussion. Maybe that day you won't get data by focus group discussion. This is also a lengthy process. And another one is secondary research. Secondary research means how pattern of behavior can be observed. So many various type of documentation resources can be coded, divided. It is based on the type of material what they contain. Another type of qualitative is interview. One of the best collection method of for narrative data is inquiry responses can group by theme or topic or category. So some difference between qualitative and quantitative, it is clearly noticeable in the interpretation stage. So after qualitative data has been collected through transcript, through questionnaire, through audio, video recording, or researcher notes. So it is time to interpret what the purpose. And researcher, this some common methods are for analyzing the data are content analysis. Content analysis is identify frequencing and recurring words. Thematic analysis, it is focuses on analyzing qualitative data like interview transcript, survey, questionnaire, and other, and identify common pattern and separate. Narrative analysis, everyone know it is very specific and complicated than two previous method, because narrative analysis is used to analyze stories and discover the meaning behind them. So these stories can be extracted from the testimonials. Some case study are also can be found in narrative analysis. Another one is discourse analysis. Discourse analysis is draw the meaning of any type of written or symbolic language in relation to a social, political, cultural, historical, and it is also used to understand how context can be affect the way language is carried out. For example, if you are doing research on power dynamics or social dynamics and using discourse analysis to analyze conversation of between janitor and CEO and draw a conclusion about their response, and based on context, your research question is great use case for this technique. Means it is a time consuming and data need to analyze until new sight emerge. One analysis also that is very famous in these days, that is grounded level theory analysis. Grounded theory approach aim at discovering a new theory, be carefully testing and evaluating the data available, unlike all other qualitative approaches on this list. And this grounded level theory helps in extracting conclusion and hypothesis from data instead of going into the analysis of defined hypothesis. This method is, as I have told you, it is very popular among research analyst, marketer, because it is completely data backed, providing a factual explanation of any scenario. So it is often used. Now we come to the quantitative data interpretation. As this quantitative word means count, sum up in one word, and it really can't. The word would be numerical. There are like growth and development. Growth is a quantitative, development is qualitative. So there are few certainties when it come to data analysis, but you can be sure that the research you are engaging has no number involved. It is not quantitative analysis, not quantitative research, as this analysis refers to set of process by which numerical data is analyzed. And so many methods in quantitative. So one most common statistical term is mean. Mean is represent numerical averages for a set of response, and dealing with when data like multiple data sets, a mean will be represent a central value of the specific set of number, and this is a sum of value divided by the number of value with the data set. Another one is a standard deviation. This is reveal the distribution of responses around the mean, and it describes the degree of consistency within the response. Together the mean, it provides insight into data. And another one is frequency distribution. It is also measuring, gauging the rate of response appearance with the data set, and while using this thing frequency distribution in survey, because frequency distribution, it also determine the number of time specific ordinal scale. I mean, agree, strong agree, disagree, less agree, these are the ordinal scale. And frequency distribution is also key in determining degree of consensus among data. Another one also which is very important, that is regression analysis. It is used in historical data to understand relation between dependent variable, one or more dependent variable, and one another cohort analysis. It is also for who share common characteristic during particular time period in business scenario. These things are uses. Predictive analysis, as name suggests, it is predictive method aim to predict future. Predictive analysis is also powered by prediction. Prescriptive method, it is as such as graph analysis, complex event process. Conjoint analysis is also another method of quantitative survey analysis. It is used to analyze how individual value different attribute of product or services. It also help in for researcher and businessman also. Cluster analysis. Cluster is a nowadays very popular method for interpreting a data. It is a quantitative method. It used to group objects into the categories, since there is a no target variable when using cluster analysis. It is useful method to find out hidden trends and pattern in the data. So we have seen how to interpret data and how to researcher play with data by the interpretation. Now, what is systematic observation? Systematic observation, you can say, it is a method of quantitative data collection. It involves it involve one or more observer, observing event, observing behavior, observing some reliable recording, their observation in term of previously structured codes. I have given one example, means this is written on slide, mean the noting the recording of the people behavior using tool like participation charts, checklists, rating scales, and so on. And people observe is naturally occurring situation by objective observer. This is a systematic. Now come to the classification. What is classification? Everybody know what is classification. I have also told you. Now come to the interpretation. This is also I have told you. Scientific method told you what is quantitative and qualitative. Now come to the limitations. What is limitations? So what is limitation to collecting the data interpretation? So first is complexity of subject matter. Wait a minute. Complexity of subject matter, difficulties in observation, difficulties in replication, and difficulties in control, difficulties in problem of measurement. When we collect the data through either qualitative or quantitative, first one is the most important. What is the subject matter? We are going on right situation or not? And what we are all observe as a researcher or scientist, my observation is to central located or not, and what things are going, whether it is replicated or not. So these are the limitations. Now come to the next slide. Nature of research. What is the nature of research? Every research have some indicators, that is called nature of research. Nature of research have objectivity, precision, design, and verifiability. This should be very important. And what is the type of fundamental research? We have two type of fundamental research. And before we going, we come to again objectivity, precision, and design, verifiability. And before going to this, I have to explain one thing: diagnostic research design and exploratory research design. And one another is descriptive research design. Research design have 5 types: descriptive, diagnostic, explanatory, exploratory, and experimental. We come to the descriptive design. It is a theory-based research design, method describing the research primary subject matter. And this research design use data collection technique like natural observation. What you observe, what you have done in your case study, survey to derive results. So this type of research design provide insight why you want to do research, how to do research. Another one is diagnostic research design. Diagnostic research design is strive to explore the reason behind the issues and find the solution to solve it. Like a doctor. What doctor do? They diagnose by the symptom, then they solve your problem by give your medicine and so on. So this type of research design try to solve the problem in a structured form, divided into 3 phases: the issue inception, diagnostic of the issues, and solution for the issue. Another one is explanatory research design. In this type of research design, Researcher explore concept and ideas on a subject to explore more theories, and for this aim to research to explore the subject, undiscovered aspects, answers like why, how, and when. So these are the very important. Another one is a experimental. Experimental design is the process of carrying out research in the objectives control fashion so that precision is maximized and a specific conclusion can be drawn regarding hypothesis statement. You can experiment by this, and these kind of research experimental design can be applied in generally medical fields. So characteristic of research. Now, type of research. What is fundamental research? Fundamental research is a primary concern with the formulating a theory or understanding particular natural phenomena. It is a fundamental research. It also aims to discover information with an extensive application base, supplementary the existing concept in certain certain areas. Now, applied research. I can give an example. When a business or say the society is faced with an issue, it need to immediate a solution. So then we can apply a applied research. It is that come to the this research come to the rescue. We primarily make use of applied research when it come to resolving the issue the plaguing our daily lives, impacting our work, health, welfare, and this applied research is undertaking to uncover solution for the issues relating to varying sector like education, engineering, and psychology business also. So I'll take 10-minute breaks. We will meet after 10 minutes. We will meet after 10 minutes. For next session, we will meet after 10 minutes.
All right, madam.